Well, Larry Becker, congratulations on your new book, gang. This is Larry Becker, one of my good friends, and an amazing talent on and off camera. But he's got a brand new book called Looking Good on Camera. Larry, welcome.
Thank you very much, Perry. Nice to catch up with you for talking about my book. That's kind of a cool thing.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, it is surreal, especially during these times. And, I mentioned to you on text, like timing is everything.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy that a pandemic would trigger a great deal of interest in my book that's coming out actually this week. It should be out this week. So I'm working with this publishing group, and we're just figuring out some very final little details, and then we can turn on the for sale buttons on Amazon and be able to sell the paperback and the ebook, which would be a Kindle book.
Wow, fantastic. How long did it take you to write that? You've been working on it for a while, right?
So because of some other projects, I had the idea early on. So I started writing it a couple years ago.
Nice.
And then I shifted midstream, started writing a totally different book. And then I went back to this one at the very end of 2019. So it went off to the publisher very first part of 2020. And here we are in April, and it should be coming out just any minute. I've been back and forth about different aspects of the layout. I mean, I just didn't realize all the things that the
Yes.
publisher looks at
Yes.
and tweaks up and makes just right. So hopefully that will be very helpful. And I built a whole website. I actually changed all my websites to point to the website for the book, which is greatoncamera.com.
Beautiful.
So it's about looking and sounding good and being confident on camera. So many people think, I just want to look good, but there's so much more to it.
Well, a lot of people, myself included, when we were first starting out on this online streaming and even just online video period, the mantra was, just good enough or, good enough, because really, if you were recording video online, you were the only guy recording video online. But now the marketplace is so crowded, so tight, that everybody who's offering the same content, the one with the better quality, is definitely going to win the day. So that's why I brought you on there. Yeah, absolutely. And I want you to talk. I know you got some points. You were just featured in USA Today, so congrats on that. But I know you have some points about looking good on camera. My last lesson to my audience, I shared with, I went from a potato camera, my built-in webcam, to my Logitech C922, and boom, huge difference in just perception. And I'm looking at you here, and it's like, man, you look like you did the makeup session. You got you look gorgeous.
Well, thanks.
Share some tips.
I'll give you a little behind the scenes of where I am right now. Because I've got a book called Great on Camera, and because I just got featured in USA Today, one of the things that I go out of my way to do is make sure that I have exactly the right camera. And ironically, I have the webcam that you were talking about, the Logitech, and I used that for the images that were used in the USA Today article, because what I didn't want to do is go way over the top and say, well, I went this route, whatever. I wanted to say, look, you can do it with a webcam. Here's how to look really bad on webcam, and then here's how to improve that. And that's what I did for the article, for a little video I did, which triggered the article. And then, but now what you're looking at is actually a DSLR camera with a legit lens, and I've wired that into my computer. And so I have an over-the-top webcam. Most people wouldn't need something at this level, but if you write a book about it, you gotta look decent.
Well, and I'm taking my group through the basics all the way up through multi-camera switching production through Zoom. So we're right now, I think, less than 6 or so. So we're getting into all that good stuff. But even with your webcam, even with your Logitech, no matter what you're using, there's a lot of points that you brought up that I wanted, my guys to hear, so they can look good no matter what level of gear they have, because your points were very important. And, I mentioned last lesson, $100 upgrade, buying a Logitech, HD camera, and like, I'm blown away. I'm a video professional. I've been doing this my entire life, but I was amazed. I've never done an A/B. I even switched from one to the other, did an A/B test, and like, oh yeah, that was worth a
Yeah.
couple $100
It's a
for
big
sure.
difference.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I'll walk you through the points that came out in the article in USA Today, and I'll enhance a little bit because they wanted to be really brief. The guy was
Sure.
really great, Jefferson Graham, nice interview. It was a good time, but at the same time, he wanted to make it very short and consumable,
Sure.
and I would say that maybe a little bit too much. So one of the things that he talked about was appearance. And I would break that down in a couple of different ways. One of them is what's your clothing choice, your wardrobe choice, because you don't want to look ratty, even though it's a casual thing. You're appearing from your house. But if you're doing it for business, if you're connecting with somebody about a
Yes.
job interview,
Yes.
you want to look nice. And so I have a bunch of polo shirts. I wear polo shirts a lot of the time, and different colors and things like that. But one of the things that I've noticed is I have some ribbed golf shirts. They just have a ribbed pattern to it. If you're old enough to remember what corduroy pants are, it'd be like a horizontal corduroy ribbing like that.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that it interferes with the camera's image sensor. And
Yeah.
so it ends up creating what we call moire pattern interference. It looks vibrating and electric, and it's distracting. So smooth, flat cloth is a good thing. Patterns are okay. You can use plaid, you can use stripes, but make sure that the patterns are big. Because if you have tiny patterns, and there's a lot of that stuff out there in stores these days, if you have those tiny little patterns, whether they're little dots or little squares or whatever, that can interfere with the camera's image sensor also. And it just looks wrong. So that's one of the things. Another issue that's going to it's just, if you're filming, it's going to make it easier on yourself. Don't wear black and don't wear white. And if you wear black, it's not always bad. Either one of those is not always bad. But depending on the lighting in your environment, white can get really blown out white, and black can get what we call really crushed blacks. So it gets really all flat and you end up looking like a blob.
Yeah. And guys, what he's talking about too is, I can demonstrate it right here. If you're wearing something really bright, your camera's got to adjust. And so it's going to adjust to your bright shirt and your face is going to go dark. Conversely, if you've got a black shirt, the camera's going to open up, the iris is going to open up. If you've got it in auto like this, so it's going to adjust, to whatever the lighting situation is. And so you want to mitigate that by not going to the extremes in what you wear. And probably,
That's
Larry,
exactly right.
when we get to the background, I want you to teach me a couple things about my mess back here. Because I've got a white background.
Yeah.
And it's not helping me.
Yeah. And I will tell you, the thing that you just talked about, I experienced yesterday. The webcams don't give you much control over the exposure. They do a lot of things automatically.
Yeah.
And they think they want to help, but they look at the overall image area and they come up with an average exposure.
Yes.
And yesterday I was wearing a really dark shirt and I had a relatively dark background. I had to blow out my background with a lot of bright light to make my face look normal. But then my background turned into a halo, and that was terrible. So then I just put on a lighter colored shirt. Everything was fine. Exact same camera, exact same environment, exact same lighting all the way around. I turned the background light down because I didn't need it anymore. And then everything looked good. And the main thing was my skin tone and color looked good. So it was the brightness and the color. And it was all a matter of just finding the right shirt. So ironically, the right shirt might be lighter or darker. It, again, depends on your environment and the lighting in your environment, but that can be a big one. And that brings me to another point that we talked about for the interview, which is lighting.
Before we get into that, let me stop a minute, because I have a Zoom meeting every Monday. We've probably got maybe 6 to 8 people on there at any one time. And, this is the new reality. You're maybe used to going into work and, wearing your work clothes, doing your hair, doing your makeup, getting fancy and really putting your work face on and your best foot forward. I'm seeing a lot of that not happening. And, I think it behooves everyone especially in a work environment, whether it's virtual or in person, you want to absolutely look your best, because that's going to have an impact on how others perceive you and your perceived professionalism. What do you think about that, Larry?
Oh, no question. I went through a lot of that in the book. There's so much we used to call it years and years ago, we used to call it subliminal communications.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is
Hidden persuaders.
the messages that you're telegraphing by your body language, the words that you use, the way that you sound, how you look, how you're lit, how your eyes are making contact or not, all those things come into play. And one of the examples that I actually used in my book, I was a communications major. I'm taking communications classes. I took a whole semester of nonverbal communications, and the very next semester, so I had gotten an okay grade in one of my classes by one of these professors. And I was actually kind of frustrated because I thought I did better than I did, according to him. So next semester, I sit in the very front row, and I used all the tricks on him that he taught me the previous semester. So I did all these things to telegraph to him silently that I was really interested. So I'm sitting at the front row. I tip my head sideways. I'm nodding in affirmation, doing all these nonverbal cues, communication. And I had no tests, no assignments, no nothing for the first 2 weeks of the semester. He stops me in the hallway and he goes, "Becker, you are doing so much better this semester." And I'm like, "Based on what, you idiot?" I didn't say that, of course. I went, "Yes, of course I am.
Of
Thank you
course
very
you are.
much."
Yes.
But the whole point was he thought I was doing better because of these nonverbal cues. And a lot of them translate into video.
Yeah.
So when you're on camera, making that eye contact, the environment, how you look on camera, the things that you just talked about, it absolutely matters.
Yeah, and I've got some ministers in my audience, and like, if they're looking down, reading their sermon, or looking at the notes, that's a huge disconnect for them in their audience.
Yeah.
You got to keep your eye focused on the lens, or else your audience is going to drift. You're not going to be as engaging as you could be. Well, Larry, what are some other good tips?
So we talked a little bit about lighting. I'll give you a more specific thing that just about anybody can do, and that is make sure that your brightest light source is really near your camera and therefore lighting up your face. You should not have the brightest light in the house being your overhead light or a side light. So in my studio office, I love my view outside, and I love the outside sunshine coming in. But I don't do that during a broadcast or during a live stream, because that light is so bright that it blows out the side of my face and it gets overly white, just super bright, 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 and it looks bad. And it also gives my face horrible lines. I am over 25.
No.
So I have lines on my face that I'm not really thrilled with. And that side light or overhead light just doesn't look good. And so I try and light it up a little bit differently for those types of situations. And so the way that I can help most people is find a light in your house, a lamp, something like that, that you can put really close to your camera, maybe right behind or right beside it, and then take the lampshade off. And if it can be a really bright, like a daylight adjusted, they actually have light bulbs that say daylight on the package.
Yep.
And so a little LED bulb that says daylight, 60 watts, 75 watts, something like that, that lights up your face, you're actually going to look better with the forward facing light. Now it's a little bright for some folks, but it will make you look better on camera.
Oh, that's an affordable, a couple bucks for a daylight LED.
Yeah. And
you want to get a dimmable one?
No, it just looks like a standard bulb that you screw into a lamp. And it may be dimmable, may not. I just like the daylight because it is a nice, bright collection of all the colors instead of like a warm light that might make you look a little orange or something like that.
So just to help folks out here, I'm in the middle of a studio rebuild, but right now I've got a huge window. So this is all window light. Yeah. And over here I've got the yellow, and you can see how that's not flattering. But there's advantages and disadvantages to using your window, like Larry said. the biggest is that when a cloud rolls over, the entire color spectrum of that light changes. So right now it's very daylight balanced and, 5,200 Kelvin, let's say. But a
Yeah.
cloud rolls by, changes everything,
Yeah.
and people can see that color shift. And even though they don't know what's going on, they perceive it as being less than optimal, and it can make you look pretty pretty ghoulish at times.
Yeah, and it can be distracting on a subconscious level. I think a lot
Yes.
of these things are small enough that nobody's going to look at a video and go, yeah, the thing I remembered about Perry's video is how he got a little bit
Right.
dark for a little while. They're not
Right.
going to know that. They're just going to feel a little uncomfortable. And imagine you're,
It's not great. And
yeah,
like I said before, it's like in these days of looking your best on camera, you know, there's so much competition with people on camera and streaming and on video and on YouTube, on Facebook, that when you come and show up professional looking like you are right now, is like people pay attention.
yeah. Well, I've discovered this a long time ago when Periscope was brand new.
Yep.
I was doing Periscope right away, right out of the box. And at the time that it was brand new, 6 years ago or so,
Is it that long?
yeah, I had been on camera for 20 years at that point. And so when I'm doing these Periscopes from my home, I would set up lighting and a nice camera and a little underlight, and I'd put on a little bit of makeup so that I wouldn't have shine. And then people would come on and say, it doesn't matter what you look like, just go live, just go live.
Yeah.
And
I was guilty of that.
and I would say stuff like, you could help your presentation a little bit if you just look a little bit better. Now, a lot of people would say it doesn't matter. And then what I would say is, yeah, it kind of does in some circumstances. A lot of people wanted to use this for business. And they go, well, Larry, that's easy for you to say. You sound great. You have a radio voice and you look great. You have perfect skin. And I'm like, people, you don't get it. I've got a great microphone. I don't sound great and have a great radio voice. I have a great microphone. I have a great environment with good lighting, and I'm wearing freaking makeup. And they didn't get that. They're all dismissing me, saying, well, you look great already. What are you saying? Yeah.
Right.
So no,
Right.
Everybody can look better.
Good. Good. And what's another one? We've talked a little bit about lighting and the camera.
Yep.
What's another what I would call low impact upgrade? Something that doesn't cost a whole lot.
What I would say is check your background.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of objects in your background. I have a brick wall as my background for things like Zoom calls like this, and also for stand-up videos. It's a great background. It's kind of neutral. It's a little bit rustic. So yeah, but it doesn't do anything. I mean, it's not distracting. And one of the challenges that people have, I've seen people with like a big piece of furniture with lots of glass doors on it. Now we've got all kinds of reflections. And then another possibility is a bookshelf, and bookshelves are okay, but there can be a problem with bookshelves too, because a lot of people put trinkets on the bookshelf.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that you need to realize is if your presentation is longer than 30 to 60 seconds, then people will at times stop listening, not intentionally, but just kind of subconsciously. They'll drift a little bit. And while they're drifting, if you have crap on your shelves behind you for them to look at, they're going to get really distracted. And so don't give them things to be distracted about. Go ahead and keep your background simple.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of YouTubers, especially in the, in our profession, that really love the deep background, a lot of, dark and moody with tea lights so they can get the bokeh going. But
and yeah, you know what? It's okay. It depends on.
Yeah, I mean, it really does, I guess, depend on your audience. But I think your point's well taken, that if you want people to pay attention to you, don't offer them a whole lot else to pay attention to.
Right. And then the other thing is what message comes across with the background where you are. In the
Exactly.
background,
Am I a slob or, you
when
know,
I have uh, when I have just a brick wall background, the message that comes across is Larry's in front of a brick wall. That's it. There is no other message. It's not a picture of my kitchen. You're not seeing my kitchen, and therefore, well, wonder why he's in his kitchen.
your
What else is
mind,
going on?
the mind
I
will
mean,
wander. So is that a real brick background, Larry, or is that
I refuse to answer.
good for
it's
you?
it's
Thanks for that.
actually a print on vinyl, and
Nice.
I've
Oh,
had a
nice.
lot of people think it's a real brick background, and that's fine with me.
Sure. Is it defocused or is there actual some natural bokeh coming off of your camera?
It's a little bit of both. It's
Okay.
not a great focus on the backdrop. One of the things, the reason that I bought the backdrop that I did is because it does have a natural lighting halo in the middle. So if all my
Mm,
light in the entire
nice.
environment
Yes.
is even, the
Yeah.
middle does have a bit of a halo. So if I'm standing there, it tends to focus viewers' attention back to me as the presenter in the
Love it.
middle
Love
with
it.
that halo of light. So that's just a little bit of next level lighting planning from my years being on camera.
Excellent. And so short of going out and purchasing a backdrop,
Yeah.
and that's something that I've been looking at because I've been seeing all of these CNN guys do remotes from home. Some
Yeah.
of them have a backdrop, some of them are in their basement, some of them are, you know, just all over the place. You're saying that you can get away with just cleaning things up a bit and removing distractions.
Yeah. I think that's pretty valid. If you really want to, maybe hang a sheet
Mm,
just to get a plain.
not a white sheet.
I'm sorry.
Not a white sheet.
Yeah. Well, off white or gray or something like that.
Well, you can buy backgrounds all over the internet
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
exactly.
And now, what's another good tip?
So one of the things that I highly recommend is you talked about cameras. We talked about cameras for a little while. And one of the things that I would say is mission critical is camera placement.
Mm,
Not just the camera itself, but the placement. And this goes twofold. And on the USA Today article, they broke it down into two pieces. One of them was don't be distorted. So in other words,
right.
the cameras all have wide angle lenses. And so therefore they force round faces when you get big enough to fill the frame. So you get close, your nose gets really big, it's very unflattering, and yeah, it's a look that we don't like, and most of us don't need more round when it comes to our face. But there's another problem, and that is a lot of people have the camera too low
Too low.
because it's
Yeah.
built into the laptop, it's built into the iPad, it's
Yes.
built into
Yeah.
the phone.
So you end up
And
look, you know, the,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't need to look up people's nose.
Right.
I
Hey.
I have no desire to do that. I have no desire to see under your chin. There's just
And
no
that's like
interest.
the least flattering angle, men and women.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do my best to avoid low camera angles. Now,
Yeah.
a lot of beauty vloggers, I see a lot of ladies saying, "Oh, let's put the camera up high. It's very flattering." And I don't know where that actually comes from. A lot of people take their selfie pictures with their hand held high, the
Right.
camera looking down at them. And it's a beauty look that a lot of people have adopted. As far as whether or not you like that in a beauty shot, in a still, it is not especially great when it comes to video. It's better than looking up your nose, but it's not great because it's still not real. So
So what are you thinking?
there's
Like eye levels is optimal or a little
eye
higher
level
than
is
eye level?
optimal, but let me tell you a little bit about this. The psychology behind it
Yeah.
is when you're looking up at somebody or I'm sorry, when they're looking up at you because of your camera placement, they're looking up your nose, looking at your chin. That's a little bit of negative to you. But the main thing is you're a grown-up looking down on a little kid.
Mm,
That's the psychology. It's a subliminal thing. It's not everybody picks up on it, certainly consciously, but it is that look that, you're looking down on your
interesting. I have one
audience.
client that's always, you know, down here.
Oh,
And
leaning back. Yeah, that's not good.
yeah, just framed wrong. Always, they're
Yeah.
always looking up, and yeah,
So one of the things that I would say is make sure that you're eye level. And if you think about real human interaction, something that we used to do before the coronavirus,
that's a great point.
you think about real human meetings,
Yeah,
face to face, Sitting down, eye to eye contact is the best, most relatable way that you can connect with somebody. And if you're standing up and they're 4 inches taller than you or 3 inches shorter than you, one of you is looking down on the other. And it's an uncomfortable way to communicate, somewhat, slightly, right? But it conveys the same thing on video. So if you can figure out a way to get your camera, whether it's on top of your monitor or eye level somehow, get your laptop up on a box so that your laptop is eye level, you're going to be a whole lot better off in making actual connection with people.
And just, just a word about framing, you and I were always taught, 2 fingers, 1 or 2 fingers above the top of your head. I'm actually a little low, but that, most of your headroom should be like right about there, not all the way over to one corner, not slouching down, not,
right.
The talking head at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah. So we have a little bit of a problem here, Perry, and that is, by the time you get far enough away from your webcam to not be distorted, because that's one of the things, they're all wide angle lenses. So you're going to be distorted. So you sit back far enough, do yourself a favor and try and get somewhat close to the middle. Okay. So sit back far enough to minimize your distortion and then get close to the middle. Now here's the sneaky trick that a lot of us do. There's aftermarket software. There's freeware on the Mac and the PC called OBS. I don't use it, so I don't teach it, but it's out there.
Yeah, that's one of the tools we'll be getting into for sure.
Okay, so it works, and maybe I need to take that class because it works just fine. And one of the other things that I use on the Mac side of things is a program called Ecamm Live. And so what's nice about that is, even with a webcam, even with that wide angle distortion, I can sit back further from the camera to minimize the distortion. And then I use software to do a little bit of a digital zoom, which refills the frame with me and my face, but no longer distorted.
And most modern, especially Logitech with their new software, most modern outboard webcams come with software that will allow you to zoom, de-distort or undistort, take the distortion out of the wide angle. Let you do a little bit of color correcting, even let you set some of the auto parameters to manual, so you don't get a lot of camera shift when the color changes in your frame. So just something to keep in mind. That's a great tip.
Yeah, it makes a lot of difference.
What was that? What was the software?
Ecamm Live, ECAMM, and it's ECAMM.com.
Just on Mac?
I'm sorry?
Just on Mac?
Mac only, yeah. Yep. So I use Ecamm Live for some of the things that I do, and then
you're not running it through now because you're on a DSLR, correct?
Right. I'm using.
So you've taken care of all of this by bypassing the webcam and upgrading and going straight to a DSLR that you're adapting into your webcam stream.
Yeah, but now the sneaky secret, I'm using $20 worth of software to do the interpretation from my DSLR, because it's a USB feed instead of an HDMI. And so that's kind of unusual. And so what I use is a freeware plugin called Camera Live. It doesn't work by itself. It needs something else. So I use Camera Live, which is actually called Syphon, SYPHON, Camera Live. So I launched that, and then that finds my camera, and it allows my camera to talk to my computer, but it's still not good enough yet. Then I need one more little piece of software, which is also from that company Ecamm. It's $20. No, I don't make a nickel for saying this, but it's called the letter I and then the word glasses. So eyeglasses. So I turn on my camera plugged in by USB. I launch Camera Live. I select my camera. Then I launch eyeglasses. Now, eyeglasses is an awesome program because it allows me to do a lot of those kinds of adjustments. I can do the digital zoom, although I don't need to because I have an actual DSLR camera with a zoom lens on it. So I don't need to do digital zoom. I also like that I have dynamic focusing because the lens itself does that. I mean, it's a higher end camera. So it's doing that. But the software allows me to do a lot of different things, and I can adjust I can actually boost sharpness if I wanted to. I'm not
Oh,
going to
that's
do that.
huge. That's
Um,
huge. Yeah,
but
guys, we'll get it. We'll cover
yeah,
all of the different hardware, software, adapters. I just took delivery of a HDMI adapter that will allow me, and I just tested it out. Works beautifully. Plug my Sony A7 III into the adapter. Plug the adapter into my computer, and it shows up as a webcam.
yeah, I want to talk to you about that one because there was one that was really popular for a long time, and they stopped making it. Camlink.
And a few of them, yes, and a few of them now are sold out. So
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, I'll turn you on. I'll give you the right link for the newest hotness. All right,
good.
so
I
we've
need that.
covered the camera. We covered
One more
the
thing.
yeah. Go ahead.
So there's one last area that I want to talk about, and that's audio.
Yes, thank you.
Audio makes such a huge difference. And I'm not going to lie. I did a podcast for a lot of years, actually a couple of different podcasts. And I selected my microphone. I spent a lot of money on a microphone because I was doing podcasting.
Yep.
And all the time I get complimented on my voice. I've been hired to do voiceover work
You're
because,
right now. You sound amazing.
well,
Really
thank
do.
you.
Yeah,
The thing,
very dead space.
but you also know that, I mean, you and I have talked in person in our offices hundreds of times. And you know that my voice sounds better now digitally in this environment because of that microphone. So what I'll tell you is the microphone itself is a little over $300. Then you need some electronic adapters because it's an XLR mic. So I need to go through an adapter to connect to my computer.
Yeah, and the point is that it's a huge upgrade. Guys, let me just share with you really quickly. Again, my audio stinks right now because I'm in a very live room, even though I got a very expensive mic like Larry. I got
Yeah.
the Heil.
Yeah.
Yep. If I switch to my, now this is my built-in mic for my laptop.
A little bit more distant.
Yeah, a little more distant. And it sounds okay, but we step it up a little bit and go to, the one I was just on. And now I've got the DJ voice if I get up close to it.
Yeah, that's true.
But so Larry, as I'm going through the studio redesign, help me. How can I get this?
Okay, I got a couple ideas, but let me do something else first.
Sure.
The thing that I want to point out is you do not have to do what I did, which is spend hundreds of dollars getting a Heil PR40 because you're going to do a podcast. You can get away with a $20 to $30 investment in a lapel, a lavalier mic. There are two that I recommend, and one of them's on Amazon, one of them's on B&H. And the one on Amazon is the Movo LV1. It's a 20-foot wired microphone. It has a little capsule on it.
Beautiful.
But the nice thing is, it's so much better than all the built-in mics from all these webcams and all these computers and the laptops and stuff like that. So the Movo LV1 is $20 and it runs on an LR44 button cell battery. Now, you, believe it or not, were the guy that taught me the difference between TRS and TRRS. You remember that?
Yep.
And I have been preaching and teaching that everywhere ever since and talking about the adapters and all that stuff. Well, here's what's cool about the Movo LV1. It has a TRRS plug on the end. So that means it's going to work with your smartphone. But here's what's cool. You don't need an adapter if you want it to work with your computer or your camera, because the button cell battery that's in the little capsule, when you flip the switch, the TRRS automatically internally converts to a TRS.
Guys, what he's talking about is, let me see if I've got a good example of it here. So you've got your little 3/8" jack, and typically on a headphone, you'll have tip, ring, sleeve, what they call. And for a phone, which needs a mic and a headset.
Here, I've got one.
Oh yeah, bring it up. I got one here somewhere. I'm surprised I don't. And anyway, the tip ring sleeve is what headsets with a microphone use. And a lot of times, if you plug the wrong one into your laptop, it's not going to work. There you go. Get a focus. There's the difference right there. Perfect.
Yeah.
TRS on the left, TRRS on the right. And go ahead, Larry.
Yeah. So the nice thing about that $20 microphone is that it automatically, when you flip the switch,
Nice.
it automatically makes the change. And what's really cool is the switch
Nice.
doesn't say on off. What it says is off camera, or rather off smartphone, off equals smartphone, on equals camera.
So you can use it wherever there's a
Exactly.
microphone jack.
And I'll tell you, this $20 microphone is absolutely usable for professional audio or video productions. So you plug it into your camera. Now, granted, it's a 20-foot wired microphone, so you can't do everything. It's not like a wireless microphone, but it does as well for audio as you can ever imagine. I've used it in professional productions at the Javits Center when we were interviewing Canon Explorers of Light. We actually had a very expensive $1,000 wireless microphone system from Sennheiser. Loved the mic.
Yep.
We could not find a clear channel. It was New York City. So we couldn't find a clear frequency.
Nice.
And so we plugged this thing in. It sounded every bit as good. The richness of the voice and everything. So I tell people all the time, if you just spend $20 on a microphone and you use that for your live streams, you're going to sound 1,000 times better.
And guys, here's the reason, the main reason. It's not necessarily about the $300 versus the $20. The real reason is called proximity. The closer you can get your microphone to the sound source, your mouth, the better it's going to sound. The second thing is you want to have a very dead room, a room that doesn't have a lot of reflections. I've got, for my studio rebuild, come on, 1 second. I'm gonna have to edit this out. Anyway, somewhere I've got sound panels all ready to get stuck up on the wall. I've got heavy carpeting ready to get laid down on the floor, because that's just not gonna work in a professional environment.
Yeah, but in the meantime, you know what you could do, Perry? Grab a blanket or a couple of pillows and put them really close to your microphone.
There you go. Ooh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, so if you just laid pillows on your desk right here, right now, you would sound way better.
Great idea. Great idea, Larry. Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah.
So give me a critique of my setup here. What do I need to change?
Okay, so your camera needs to go up a little higher.
Yep.
One of the things that I would do is maybe balance out some light in your room so that you can shut the blinds on your outside light and not use that as your primary light source.
Yes. Yep.
And
I gotta back this away from the wall, close my blinds, and get a. I've got a couple of LED lamps, professionals that I'm gonna put up there. Yep. Okay.
Yep, and that'll get rid of the reflections in your glasses too, because when you put the lights at 45 degrees out and 45 degrees up, they won't reflect in your glasses, but it'll light your face beautifully.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And I've been struggling with that, wondering like, how am I going to get rid of that but it's more reflecting from the window than it is from my computer screen.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good. What else? How's my sound?
Your sound is a little echoey.
Yep. Okay.
But
what about my background? What do I need to do with there?
Well, just tighten it up. But again, your camera is still a little bit low because you have some perspective of the door behind you going like this. So I can tell your camera's still a little low.
Yep. Yeah. I haven't I don't.
Yeah.
I need to.
Once you get your camera in the right position and simplify the background, I think that'll be fine. One of the other things with your kind of background is, what's the street sign that's up there?
Main Street Films.
Okay. So what you might do is make it so that you're not blocking it the whole time. Because what people will do is, I'm looking at you right now, and as you move a little bit, I'm trying to figure out what does it say? Yeah. So if you put it over to the side where people can actually read it, then they'll be able to read it and disregard it, or, okay, I know what it says, instead of totally not paying attention to you and trying to figure out what that says. The other thing is, you might at some point say, it says Main Street Films, let me explain that. And so then people feel like insiders. They feel like, okay, well, I know what that thing is and why it's in Perry's environment. now what's that other thing? And then that other thing. And I see, you know, that light stand and
And again, it's a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's a wide angle webcam, even though it's a
yeah,
nice webcam, the angle is just incredibly wide. If I tighten it up, I'm going to be very close. So I'd have to back. So yeah. So Larry has solved that by picking the right camera and the right lens to offer him a very natural appearance.
yeah. And that little bit of zoom in. Now I'm probably, all things considered, I'd like to have a deeper office, put the camera just a
Mm,
little farther away from
mm,
me
mm-hmm.
and zoom just a little bit more.
Nice.
That would be my preferred position.
Let me ask you one thing
Yeah.
about your audio. Um, I'm noticing a little bit of a delay between your mouth and your audio. Are you running your audio straight into your computer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How is mine as far as sync goes?
Seems good.
Hello.
Seems
Okay.
good.
One thing I've done in the past to solve for that is actually run the mic into the camera, so the same feed um, reduces the any kind of lag there. I don't know.
Yeah,
What
I'll
would you?
try it out. I'm not sure that that's going to matter. Different things happen with Zoom versus Skype versus
Ah, yeah,
Facebook Live.
yeah.
Everything is a little bit wonky, and some of it has to do with the the software that
The
you're
way it
using to do
encodes.
that
Yeah,
interpretation. You're
yeah.
right.
Very good. Well, Larry, where can people find your book, Looking Great on Camera?
Yeah, it's just great on camera.
Great
So
on camera. Okay.
just greatoncamera.com because it's
Awesome.
more than the look. It's everything. I talk about how you should talk when you're on camera, how you write scripts. It depends
Oh,
on your audience
beautiful.
and it depends on your style. So it's how do you look less nervous? How do you communicate with your audience, build trust? And there are a lot of these, again, we used to call them subliminal, but a lot of these subtle things that we could change in how we are on camera in order to be much, much, much better. One of my biggest aha moments, and I share this in the book, one of my biggest aha moments was I saw a show that my wife was watching one weekend, and it was an awards show, and the presenter was presenting in a closed studio with no live audience. And the whole
Mm.
time, and I had no attachment to this program whatsoever. I just happened to be walking through the room and I see this guy wearing a tuxedo doing presenting awards, and he's just smiling, just a stupid grin. Just, I mean, it was over the top for me walking through the room. I'm like, what is he so happy about? And then I thought, you know, I've been on camera for a lot of years and I was doing camera gear reviews for B&H Photo in New York. So I went in Monday, having seen that over the weekend, and I thought, I'm going to try that. I'm just going to do, because I like to smile during my videos, but I was really going to go over the top, out of the way to super smile the whole time I was presenting. And I didn't tell my team I was doing this, but we had a sound person, a videographer, editor, and every one of them said, did you like go to a seminar this weekend? You are so much better on camera. It's amazing. You are great on camera. That was really,
Wow.
and then the video went up to New York for them to proof it. And they're like, whatever you guys did, I don't know what changes you made, but
Wow.
Larry is so much better in this video. And this is after like doing it a year and a half, 2 years for them. And it was just a stupid grin, you know, just smiling the whole time. And
Unbelievable. Yeah.
that one
It,
little thing is just a huge takeaway. And so there are a lot of tricks that are similar to that that are throughout the book to help people be better on camera. And it's things you don't think about.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, greatoncamera.com. Larry, I can't thank you enough for helping me figure out my studio build and what I need to do to get it to be optimal. And guys, we're going to cover all sorts of things that Larry's been talking about. We'll probably even bring Larry on to talk about them some more. Cameras, adapters, software like OBS, all kinds of things like the LV1 Movo microphone. So hang in there. These free courses are for you to up your streaming game. And Larry, I can't thank you enough for being here.
Glad to do it. Thanks for the invite, Perry.
All right, we'll see you.